Everybody wants to find the one. It's no secret in this culture that the pursuit of romance will find its way into your life eventually. And it all begins when you realize that you're alone. Maybe it was that romantic comedy that came on while you were walking through a room and you stopped for a second to watch an on-screen romance begin. Or maybe it was when your friends started dating and then spammed your Instagram feed with pictures of them holding hands. At some point in our lives, we all come to this unsettling conclusion that I'm alone. And maybe there's someone out there for me. Which brings up tonight's question. Is there anything wrong with feeling that way? Should you feel wrong for wanting to have someone in your life? Let's go back to the beginning of mankind. In the book of Genesis in the Bible, before sin enters into the picture, in Genesis chapter 2, verse 18, God creates Adam. And God makes this really profound statement about Adam's well-being. It says, "Then the Lord God said, 'It is not good that man should be alone. I will make him a helper fit for him.'" So God is already acknowledging that this creation, it's incomplete. Man is alone and it's not good. I want you to really understand the impact behind this. So far, all of creation is perfect. Everything that God has done, he's reflected back and said, this is good. Yet this is the one point in all of creation where God pauses and says, this is not good. I don't think the creator of the universe forgot to add an ingredient to the creation cake. I think God is announcing to us, the reader, that I created something beautiful and I want you to see its purpose. This is a spiritual stop sign in the creation story where God is making us pause to see something that we tend to glaze over. It's not good that we're alone. God purposely wired this ache in our hearts that makes us wonder if there's something more. It's good for us to realize that it's not good to be alone. Why? Because God wants you to desire what he's created you for. God doesn't really announce this to Adam, though. He doesn't give Adam a mission to go find the one. Instead, he gives Adam the task of observing creation and naming animals. And God brings every animal to Adam, and Adam names them one at a time. Just imagine this. God the Father marches a lion and its lioness up to Adam, then a peacock and its mate, and so on, and so on, and so on. And Adam starts to feel this ache in his heart. Genesis 2:20 says, "The man gave names to all livestock and to all the birds of the heavens and to every beast of the field. But for Adam there was not found a helper fit for him." Adam has come to fully understand that there's something missing. He's alone and it's not good. He feels the feeling that you and I have experienced countless times. It's that feeling that keeps us up at night, wondering if we'll ever meet the right person. It's that hunger that makes you scan the faces of strangers, searching for that person who might make you feel complete. And then God decides to unveil the finale of all creation. He makes the woman. God puts Adam in a deep sleep, takes out his rib, and he crafts this woman. When God walks Eve in front of Adam, this is his response. "This at last is bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, because she was taken out of man." Can you see the excitement that's in Adam's exclamation? She is just what was missing. This is what I've been wanting all along. This is the absolute ideal situation that Adam gets put into. Adam's wife is created just for you. You and I, however, we had to go out on this weird search to try and find the one. Adam falls asleep. God creates the perfect spouse out of his rib. We go on a series of awkward dates and roll the dice on love. Adam sure lucked out on this one. If you felt like something is missing in your life, then you know about the pursuit. The pursuit is this mad dash where we chase after love. It's this ongoing quest where we seek after the one who we feel will complete us. I think we can all recognize the pursuit in some shape or form. Unfortunately, our culture has recognized it as well, and the media has made a fortune on it. Magazines tell us how to look more attractive to make everyone fall in love with us. We're fed pornographic lies that other people are objects to be used. Romantic movies let us know that if we could just find the right one, then everything will be all right, and we'll live happily ever after. Shows like The Bachelor and Bachelorette have turned the pursuit into a game where a house full of potentials compete for your love. And when one person finally wins the other person's attention, they're forced to ignore the fact that they just shared that person's heart with 20 other people in the course of a couple months. We can feel the pursuit's full effects when we start dating someone. It's like our brains turn to mush, and slowly we start changing little pieces of who we are to make that person like us more. We try new things, we get out of our comfort zone, and we enter into this euphoric sense of love as we chase after acceptance and belonging. But then something happens in the pursuit. The honeymoon stage dies, and we start seeing more flaws in the person we're dating. The cute little things they do start to annoy you. You become more tired than energized, and you start to notice that this person doesn't seem to complete you anymore. The chase becomes a staggering walk, and the pursuit ends. And then you find a new person to pursue, and you lather, rinse, repeat the whole process. Instead of pursuing the one, we end up pursuing the many in hopes that we'll eventually find the one. And it's no wonder that so many married couples have a long list of the people they dated before they found the one. But what if that's not the pursuit? What if we're pursuing a lie? What if we were never meant to experience the idea of the pursuit so soon? Check out this relationship update that God gives Adam and Eve. Genesis 2:24. Therefore, a man shall leave his father and mother and hold fast to his wife, and they shall become one flesh. God makes this game-changing announcement about how relationships are supposed to work. A man will leave his father and mother, and he will hold fast to his wife. This phrase, hold fast to his wife, comes from the Hebrew word dabak, which means to chase after something. God is telling us that when a man becomes married, he starts to chase after his wife with the intention of catching her. God's telling us that the pursuit doesn't happen until the day you say, I do. The chasing of your soulmate begins the day you're married. Can you see how radically different this is than how we've made it? We think the pursuit begins in the dating process, but God says it happens in our marriage. To some of you, this probably sounds really backwards. It's like God is asking you to never kiss anyone until you're married. Or you can start dating when you're, 30. But what God is doing is setting you up for the most successful marriage possible. One that's filled with joy. Everyday marriages end as partners come to the conclusion that the pursuit has ended. They remember back to when they were dating and how happy they were, yet in their marriage, the pursuit has vanished. They've stopped chasing each other and stopped making each other feel special. So they've come to the conclusion that maybe they never found the one, so they divorce and try starting this pursuit all over again. But God has a different plan in mind for you. The pursuit begins the day you say, I do. That entails a marriage spent on chasing each other and fighting for one another. If we can't understand what it truly means to pursue each other, we will never understand what it means to be married. The pursuit is the marriage when you think of it on God's terms. In this infinite adventure of trying to sacrifice for your partner, it's this promise that you make to your spouse no matter what happens. I will never stop loving you, and I will never stop chasing you. And when you say I do, God is firing the starting line guns. And that is when the chase begins. And here's what happens when you pursue someone on God's terms. Genesis 22, verse 25. And then the man and his wife were both naked and were not ashamed. They're both naked, and they're not ashamed. They could see everything about each other, and it didn't stop them from chasing each other. Shame has no place in this relationship. They could stand side by side and love one another. Isn't that what we all want? Someone that can see us for who we are, and it doesn't stop them from loving us, because the two became one. God describes this couple as becoming one. We spend our entire lives in search of the one, yet this couple had become one. Now, do you see the difference? We think that there is someone out there who can complete us, but Adam and Eve were made complete by God. He made them one. When God isn't in the mix, we'll never feel complete. We've taken this idea of the pursuit and we've made it on our terms, yet we always feel empty. But when Adam and Eve did it on God's terms, they felt complete and unashamed. Paul goes even further with this in his narrative in Ephesians chapter 5, 28, 31, and 32. Husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her. Therefore, a man shall leave his father and mother and hold fast to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. This mystery is profound, and I am saying that it refers to Christ and the church. Now, what Paul is saying here is so radical. Paul's comparing the relationship of a husband and wife to Jesus and the church. The word that Paul uses for our version of love is agape. Agape is a love that is so strong you would sacrifice your life for it. It goes even deeper than just sacrifice, though. This love is so strong that no matter how the other person acts or responds, your love will never change. Your wife could spit in your face and tear you down, but you would continue to love her and sacrifice for her. Can you see how this type of pursuit is so different from our world? There are so many influences out there that will tell you that if your spouse isn't putting in the same amount of work as you, then you can give up on them. They'll tell you that you've lost all the love in your marriage. Then you'll never really know that you never really knew the person, and that you can start pursuing a divorce instead of your spouse. But Paul says the opposite. Paul tells us that no matter the conditions or what season you're in, husbands must love their wives in a way that is equal to how Christ died for humanity. There are two reasons Paul makes this comparison. The first, to show us what the pursuit looks like. Paul is showing us that to truly pursue someone, it means to sacrifice for them. True love is not shown in how we feel, but it's shown in our actions. Marriage is not about who does more. It's about living unconditionally. The testimonies of countless marriages that have lasted for many years will tell you that there were several times when divorce became an option, but they chose to love each other through it. The pursuit is not about the times when you feel comfortable with one another, but it's in the moments you fight to keep each other. The pursuit is an uncomfortable conviction to always be there for each other. The second is to point us back to God as the source. Paul makes a connection between man and wife to the church and to Christ. Remember when I said that God had made Adam and Eve one? Paul's pointing us back to the concept of oneness and how it relates to Jesus. We let culture tell us out there that there's someone who can complete you, and they are not wrong. Where they're wrong is thinking that it's someone other than Jesus. There's not a single person on this earth that will ever make you feel complete. When you pursue a person in hopes that he or she can fulfill you, the relationship will be filled with more suffering and more heartache than you can ever bear. Jesus is the only person that can complete you. Everybody wants a story that ends with the line, "They lived happily ever after." Everyone wants a successful marriage. But what if the way you were living right now could determine how successful your marriage was? God is the missing piece that creates the oneness in the pursuit. If the pursuit doesn't begin until the day you say, "I do," then maybe it's time you started pursuing something else. Would your life look different in 5 years if you chose to start pursuing a relationship with Jesus instead of other people? Over the next 3 weeks, I want to break down to you 3 ways that you can start dating more effectively. But more importantly, how you can start preparing your heart for the best marriage ever. But first, I want you to ask yourself this. What have I been making the pursuit about? Have I tried finding someone to complete me? Have I been chasing something that culture has told me to chase? It's okay to find that someone because God put that desire in your heart. So during the next couple of weeks, come back and join us as we break down what that should look like.